Yes, sir. We are back for another episode of the Eric Crocker Show. I'm so excited to join y'all today, and y'all join me to talk Trey Lance, the San Francisco 49ers, and Rapoport talks about the 49ers potentially trading Trey Lance. That's not exactly how he worded it. Teams are interested. All right, we're going to dive into that and much more. I got some things that I want to get on my chest, or off my chest as it pertains to the San Francisco 49ers, man. But ultimately, I'm excited to join and be with y'all today. It's just going to be me, and I'm going to put the link in the chat right away. So it's going to be us today. We're going to talk about how we're feeling. It's going to be an open mic. Put the link in the chat so y'all can join live right here. If you're listening to the audio podcast, come over to YouTube, man, so you can join live and be a part of the show. This is not about me. This is about us, the people, the San Francisco 49er faithful. And got some Warrior fans out there, 0-2. I ain't going to say too much. I ain't going to say too much, but you see what's going on. Lake Show tonight. Make sure y'all tune in for the Lake Show and all that good stuff. You feel me? But how's everybody doing? I see the flames coming in already. Jason, let's go. 5 flames. Jeep Crack Hawk. And y'all know the rules, man. If it's anything less than 5 flames, if it's anything less than 5 flames, with how you're feeling, your mood, again, this is a mental health check. If it's anything less than that, DM me. I'll shoot you my number. Let's talk about it. You got something on your mind, need somebody to talk to. You feel like can't talk to your girl about it, whatever, whoever it is, talk to me. Hey, real quick, before we get into the show, and this might mess up the algorithm talking about this, but it's been just 1 minute or so right here. But wasn't it Emmanuel Acho? I remember he put out something on Twitter and he was like, "Hey man, for all my married people, what's the one key to having a successful marriage, or and all that, right?" And I guess that depends on what you think is a successful marriage. But anyways, I can't speak for everybody. I can speak for myself. But one thing that I have noticed between myself, my wife, some of my friends, married people, etc., things that people that have marriages that last, people that don't, whatever. The one thing, if we could say one thing, I know everybody says communication. I don't think it's communication. I think it's healthy communication. And we try to have healthy communication in here, but it's healthy communication because you can communicate something and definitely do it the wrong way, right? Now, you can say you said it, you can say you told them, but that does not mean that you told them the right way, right? Are they going to receive it the right way? So make sure we are not just having, communicating with our partners, with our wife, with our girlfriends, etc. Make sure we are having healthy communication. Healthy communication. All right. So I think that's the number one thing, healthy communication. And I see Connor right here. He says money. Hey, money is a big part of it. I want to say most marriages end because I think that's the highest percentage of the reason why people divorce. I think it's money. But so that can have something to do with it. But if you have healthy communication, then you can talk about your money. My wife and I, we talk about money all the time. Hey, what's going on with this? Okay, how we gonna do this? Okay, you know what I'm saying? And when you're on the same page and y'all both working towards the same goal, then again, healthy communication. Healthy communication. All right. So enough of that. Enough of that. Here we go. I got Steven. Hold on, Steven. I just saw it. Here we go. We got Steven Ramsey in the chat. He says, "What up, Crop? Met you in the mall in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Solid dude. Let's go, Brett." That was crazy because so how this happened was we walking in the mall in Oklahoma. We took our 7-on-7 kids to we had a tournament, Broken Arrow, which essentially is like right there next to Tulsa. So, our kids are bored. We took them to the mall, took them to the movies, all that stuff. And I'm in the mall. I see somebody with a 49er hat on. So I just, hey man, go Niners. And I didn't see, Steven, I didn't see what you started doing from there. But my buddy who was with me, my buddy Malik, he did. And I guess he heard you say, "Man, I think that's Eric Crocker." And I know that's probably hella random, right? Like, why is Croc in Tulsa, Oklahoma? That I would think that that's really random. But I guess my buddy heard you say that, and he was like, "Man, I think it, dude asked if that was you." And I'm like, "Nah, man." I'm walking. He's like, "Nah, for real." So then he turned around. He was like, "Yeah, it's Croc." And then you were real cool, man. You're real cool. So shout out to my guy Steven, man. It was good running into you. I always run into people in random places now, which is really wild. And I think for the first time back home in Stockton, California, I'm from Stockton. You know what I'm saying? Real 209, all that stuff, North Side. But I go back home a lot. A lot of times I'm not home for a while, but my son, he had surgery. So I was out there a little bit longer for like a week. So, I was doing a little bit more around town. And there were actually people that stopped me and was like, "Hey, you're Eric Crocker." And another guy, I'm in the weight room. You know what I'm saying, lifting weights. You see, I'm getting real slim on them. All right, but I'm lifting weights, and the guy says, "Hey man, by the way, love the show, man. You guys are great." And I was like, "Dang, that's pretty cool." I'm just lifting weights and guys. So, anyways, I'll probably never get used to that. I know when I go out to games and stuff like that, everybody shows love and it's real dope. But anyways, y'all ain't coming here, man, to hear me talk about that stuff. Y'all came on here to hear me talk about the San Francisco 49ers and potentially trading Trey Lance. All right, so I'm gonna read the tweet as it was headlined by Ian Rapoport. And by the way, here's the link in the chat right here. Just in case you guys want to come on, we're gonna bring y'all on early right now. So man, make sure y'all click that link right there. Come in live if you're watching live on YouTube. But Ian Rapoport, sources: the 49ers have received inquiries from several teams looking into a potential trade for former number 3 pick Trey Lance. The conversations have been the result of San Francisco fielding calls, not making them. Okay, I'm going to repeat that part. This has been the result of San Francisco fielding the calls, not making them, with teams aware that Brock Purdy is likely the future starter. All right. So I I think that's very clear what's going on. All right. I'm pretty sure you guys can see this and kind of know what exactly does this mean. One, again, several teams. So there are several teams that are looking into like this situation and they see it for what it is. Hey man, you guys really like Brock Purdy. And we think Trey Lance has a lot of talent. And maybe we could figure it out, right? How to get this kid on the right path and just give him the opportunity that he needs. And when I say opportunity he needs, I mean like dude's a grown man. But I just mean we're gonna play him. All right. And what would it cost? All right. So let's pick up the phone and we're gonna call our GM Eric Crocker or whatever. We're gonna call John Lynch. Hey John Lynch, man, we know you guys really like Brock Purdy. And we have our quarterback situation here, but it's not solidified. What would it take for us to get Trey Lance? Okay. Okay, that's what you okay. We're just inquiring. You guys want a second for him? All right, okay. I'll call you back. Another team. Hey, John Lynch, what y'all want for Trey Lance? Because I see the situation, Brock Purdy. You guys really like him? Okay, you're not interested right now. All right. We'll wait. All right. I think ultimately what is going to happen is teams are going to continue to look into it. And the moment somebody gets hurt, I would assume they go like if I'm a team and I have a veteran starter or I have a starter and my guy goes down, I'd actually go with someone that just has more experience, me personally. So if I am going to trade for Trey Lance, it would be now or maybe next week during the draft. But I would do it to where it's like, hey, we get a 2-year sample size or 2-year experiment with Trey Lance. Like that's how I would look at it. Because again, he has what year 3. Nah, man, shoot, you get 3 years, really. If you're just like, no matter what, we're gonna pick up his 5th-year option. But at least you get to figure out right now, hey, we're gonna play him this year, so we'll at least know if we want to pick up his 5th-year option. That would be the way to go. And I think there would be several teams that would be like interested in that. I did see somebody originally in the chat say the Indianapolis Colts, and I would say it feels like they've gone more the veteran route. So if they want to go like, and they've been trying to like just throw resource out. Okay, let's see if we can patch it up with this. All right. Okay. Phillip Rivers. Let's see if we can patch it up with Phillip Rivers. Nah. Okay. Let's see if we can patch it up with Carson Wentz. Nah. All right. Let's see if we can patch it up with Matt Ryan. Nah. Okay. Let's see if we can patch it up with Trey Lance. I don't see that happen. I think they like, all right, look, we done swung and missed on all these guys. Let's just go high in the draft and take a quarterback that we think is extremely talented. Like that's how I would do it. So I think the Colts are off, but if they continue the trend and people always tell me like, man, hey, they'll show you who they are. Well, they've showed me that they're willing to go and just get a quarterback. So maybe the Colts, but I don't see that. I don't see that coming. But as far as Trey Lance and teams being interested in him, I would be. Because look, I can watch it and say, man, he needs to clean this up. But man, he has a lot of talent. Man, he has a lot of talent. And he does. He does. He has a lot of talent. Most people, shoot, Sam Darnold has a lot of talent. So you go high like that, you have talent. Can you get the most out of it? And that's the biggest part. Can you surround that guy to be successful? And can you put him in a position to where he is going to be the most successful for him? I was listening to my guys, Damian Parsons. Shout out to Damian Parsons. I was listening to the NFL Draft Show, Locked On NFL Draft, and he was talking about how not even so much Trey Lance, but he kind of tied Trey Lance into the conversation with some of these quarterbacks, right? And he's like, the quarterbacks, they need different things and depends on the team. And he's like, he kind of questioned the 49ers trading for Trey Lance, who is going to need time, but you want to win a Super Bowl. Your goal is Super Bowl. So the wrong thing to do would be to take a guy who it might take some time, right? So they were like, yeah, I probably wouldn't do that. So they were talking about certain teams where it's like, hey, if your goal is we need to win a Super Bowl right now, then a Trey Lance guy or a Will Levis or a Anthony Richardson might not be for you. And that's what it was more in the context of Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, guys that just might need time, right? He talked about the Buffalo Bills. And he was like, man, when they went all in with Josh Allen, it was, we're just going to give them time. Like our goal this year, our goal next year is not Super Bowl. It is to get Josh Allen up to speed. It is to develop Josh Allen a certain way. Super Bowl, if it happens, great, but that is not our end goal. It is to bring our quarterback along the right way. All right. Same with my guy, and they mentioned, and this is them mentioning guys, but they mentioned Jalen Hurts. And they were like, when they started playing Jalen Hurts, it was like not like, oh, we're gonna win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts right now. Now, maybe after the first year, they felt like, okay, he'd have another jump. And when I say the first year starting, his second year in the NFL, and then heading into his third year, maybe heading into his third year is like, all right, we feel like he's going to take a jump, and we're going to surround him with guys like A.J. Brown. He got the best offensive line, and we can really make something happen with him, with who he is and who he showed us he was after his first full-year starter. But, again, the goal right away wasn't, hey, man, right now we're going to win a Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. And I think with the 49ers, that's where it kind of got jumbled up. All right, where it's like, man, we got to win a Super Bowl with this guy, and that's not where he is right now in his development. So we'll see. But as far as the calls are going, the calls are coming in for Trey Lance. Will he get traded? First and foremost, man, we got our guy, Gammon Brown coming on. Gammon, good morning. I like this sports coat. I see where you're going there. Clean shaved head. I got a clean shaved head, but I'm covering up the baldy. But how are you doing?
I'm doing phenomenal. It's gonna be interesting when the Lakers and the Kings rekindle the rivalry, and they see each other there in the playoffs here. Shout out to Light the Beam fans. I do think it's I'm not really surprised that that the 49ers are receiving calls, and shout out to my man Kruger. I'm sure that he woke up and he's like, yes, he's got to be a happy man. But if we're going to use tweets as sort of a form of reference, I'm going to go to one Miss Jennifer Lee Chan, the San Francisco 49ers beat reporter, who tweeted, remember, receiving calls is very different than making them, right? Go with Jason Aponte. I would imagine any team inquiring about Lance has a quarterback that they don't view as their future and has no chance the top guys in the draft. It absolutely makes sense to call the 49ers and check on Lance for those teams. And even then, when we kind of look at current players, right? Teams have called about, Brandon Ayuk. Teams called about Deebo Samuel. We kind of saw what was going on or didn't go on with Jimmy Garoppolo. These things happen. And here's my question to you. And because you're out of all the people that we really listen to and get our 49ers sources and news from, you're the soundboard for us as fans, Mr. Crocker. And I say this, what's the difference do you think in compensation? Because my feeling is the 49ers have a higher valuation and expectation on their assets and the return of that. And it's above the reality than the market. So I'm sure they're receiving calls, but I just still feel like there's too many variables for an actual deal to come in. maybe the 49ers get a third rounder, but it's not probably going to be a straight up third rounder. It's probably going to be conditional third rounder, this, that, and the other. Your thoughts on that as far as the 49ers and their evaluation of their own trade market and that sort of thing?
Oh yeah, it's always been kind of crazy, I think. You kind of go back to Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard. Weren't there reports that teams were inquiring about the 49ers, CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins? Because hey, you got, kind of three quarterbacks. You got Jimmy G, you got these two other guys. Are you willing to let one of those guys go? And the 49ers are like, no. And I always thought that was wild. I thought that was wild. Like, how aren't you gonna move off of Beathard or Mullins? Like, just one of those guys. They are backup quarterbacks. Like, they're not a starter. So whether you got two backup quarterbacks, three, whatever, and we see this year maybe it is a little bit more valuable to have three, even though that was kind of different, right? Yeah, that was different. But anyways, typically teams grow in the season. You got two quarterbacks. If you're willing to give me a pick, a fifth round pick for my third string quarterback, bro, I'm taking that. And I don't think the 49ers were. So, like you're saying, with how much they value their guys on the roster and the price that they put on the guys, I think that kind of moves teams off of it. Deebo Samuel, perfect example. Like you said, teams were inquiring about him and teams made offers. Now, the New York Jets. The offer that the Jets made, I would not have taken that either. Do you remember what the offer was for Deebo?
I think I don't really remember. I know like 49ers fans were wanting like a first, second, third, fourth, fifth, but I think they were trying to offer something like a second.
No, so it was a first.
Mm,
So they were going to give us one of their top 10 pick or whatever, right?
yes.
So it was a first round pick, but they wanted to swap. They wanted the 49ers pick 61 and in return for a third round pick. So it was like, yeah, you get the first, and then but we want that 61st overall pick, and then we'll give y'all like hell not. And I wouldn't have done that either. Now, if you tell
Right.
me, yeah, we'll give you a first and a third for Deebo, like cool, straight up, cool. But you want our second round pick? Like, no way.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that I'm kind of getting at is I don't doubt that the 49ers wouldn't be opposed to trading Trey Lance, just like I don't think they wouldn't be opposed to trading Deebo Samuel. But how are we going to sweeten up the deal here, right? Like, and I think that's what they're getting in compensation in return because, okay, so you're the GM, right? And you're let's say you're the Buccaneers. You're the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have their GM is kind of clearly stated out on record that about their quarterback situation in Tampa Bay. And you're looking at the 49ers, but you're looking at this draft class, right? Where a guy like DTR could be had in the third, fourth, fifth round, right? And then you get him for a full 4 years on that rookie contract. When you're kind of like assessing this, right? Even Duggar from TCU, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of other quarterbacks that you get, and then have them on a secured rookie contract for 4 years. So you're the Buccaneers GM, and you're looking at that quarterback situation, and I bet they're one of the teams that have called and reached out just to kind of, I call it like fishing, testing the waters. What would you realistically be offering the 49ers for a young quarterback, not very many starts, didn't even play D1 ball?
Yeah, he did play D1. He played 1 AA.
Yeah.
I saw somebody else in the chat say D2.
Yeah.
I played Division II football. North Dakota State would wipe us. I mean, it wouldn't even be competitive. It wouldn't be. It's hard for people to understand. I think that like maybe don't know the differences. And we had talent on our team.
I don't.
But the difference between 1AA
Mm-hmm.
and D2, there's a drastic difference. So it's very kind of like really disrespectful to North Dakota State, Sacramento State, what they're doing right now, Eastern Washington, where Cooper Kupp played, like those teams, and there are a decent amount of really good 1AA schools. To call them Division II is really it's very disrespectful and wild. So
Yeah, I'm gonna get roasted for that faux pas of a comment there. So I
And that
apologize
wasn't for
if there
you. I
was.
mean, I saw somebody in the chat say that he played D2. You said wasn't D1, which technically, yeah. I mean, it wasn't 1A as we used to call it. Now they call it FBS. So the FBS and the FCS, which are the two different Division One conferences. So
Absolutely. But yeah, having you put back on that GM hat for the Bucks and looking at it from an outside perspective with everything that Lance either has going on or doesn't have going on.
hold on, my bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, guy.
Yeah.
So we got Josh here in the chat, and he says, "Let's not act like Division One AA is the same as Power Five conference football. There's a huge gap between those leagues. I think there's a huge gap between SEC and everybody else. Period. Now obviously, like the top Big Ten school, they could compete, but just in general, like year in and year out, you got your Ohio State, you got your Michigan, and you got your SEC, and then it's like there's a big gap between them and the rest of college football. So it's not just about the difference between 1AA and you go to the SC. Now let's go from 1AA to Sunbelt. From 1AA to the even Pac-12. Go to 1AA to even some ACC. Like, and maybe they can't beat Clemson, but there's some other ACC schools like North Dakota State will beat. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the difference between them and SEC, of course, and that's the top SEC. I would say right now, because you just said SEC, you better keep it at, like the big dogs, because you go to like Vanderbilt, who did beat Florida this year. But man, North Dakota State with Trey Lance, they would compete with Vanderbilt and might beat Vanderbilt. Matter of fact, they beat some Pac-12 schools. Like that, like those teams, again, it's kind of disrespectful to really, really compare like that. They're not D2. All right, so we'll just kind of leave it at that. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't want to, keep beating up the narrative that Trey Lance hasn't played a lot and that sort of thing, but he does have a little bit lack of experience, but also too, again, if we can have you kind of go back and putting on that GM hat for the Buccaneers, what do you think would be, again, looking at the talent pool, because I do think you have some first round talent, and then I do think you have some day 2, day 3 selections that can be made. So you don't really have to be desperate. I don't think, even if you are a team that doesn't have a quarterback, if you're fishing, just casting out that first line, what would your initial call be with John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, Adam Peters? What do you think a reasonable offer would be, especially with where you're picking at in the draft?
If I'm a team, right? So
Yes.
let's start with, again, I'm Tampa Bay, or I'm maybe Tennessee Titans or something like that. Just negotiating tactics in general, I'm gonna start low. So I'll start with, hey man, I will give you a fifth. And you might hang up and say, hell no, right? And I'll let it sit for a little bit. I'll come back, all right, like a fourth. And you might hang up again and say, hell no. But at least because I started low, um, as I start to get a little bit higher, a third might sound more intriguing to you. Even if originally you wanted either a late first or even a second round pick, because hey, he's talented, just weird circumstance for us and our expectations as a team, but he might be a much better fit for your team and where y'all are at right now. And that's way more beneficial to you. So we're not just gonna let him walk to y'all like for this low pick. So maybe the 49ers are thinking, well, we needed a first or a second, or hey, we'll take a first next year. The 49ers could be thinking something along the lines of that. I think realistically, a third sounds about right. Like that's what I would be willing to give up if I were a team. It would be hard for me to give up more for a guy who, again, has not started 3 straight games in the NFL. He needed reps and just playing time because there's just so much inexperience coming from the FCS level. So hey, I get Trey Lance for a third and I get multiple years to see what I have with them. Cool. But it would be hard for me to give up more. Now, the 49ers might expect more because they gave up a lot. But for me, it would be hard to say, okay, I'm just going to give you a first round pick or I'm going to give you a second round pick. Like that would be hard for me.
Absolutely. And where do you think that the 49ers evaluation, what they would deem as fair to part with? Again, I mean, we don't know how full and robust their quarterback room is going to be? What do you think they would deem fair? So putting on, your Adam Peters, John Lynch, hat. What do you think would be willing to entertain? Like, where do we start going? Like, okay, now we can actually talk. I'm not going to hang up the phone.
Did you say that the 49ers have a robust quarterback room?
No, I didn't say that they have. I maybe I worded that wrongly. I meant to say that they don't have a robust quarterback room, or we don't know how robust it is, how big it is, because we don't know. With Brock Purdy and that Yahoo report that came out, if he's going to be his availability being a part of that room, because he could be rehabbing.
He's going to play. Like, I think it was worded, it was taken out of context.
Okay.
And a lot of people that I've seen a lot of people kind of touch on it since then. We talked about it, Locked On 49ers, myself, Brian Peacock, come at you 5 days a week. Make sure y'all tune into that. But
it's actually on right now.
Yeah. Okay, man. Why'd I go live during the premiere? It is premiering right now. Bad timing by me. But yeah, I definitely pulled some people away from that. My bad. That was not a good business move. But anyways, we're going live right now. I got stuff to do. I got to fly to Atlanta later today, so this is the time we're going on. But I think we need to get into talking about the quarterback room. But to do that, and I know I didn't quite answer your question again, man. I'm gonna send you backstage. I'm gonna bring on my guy Terradome.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I'm gonna send you backstage. If you have time, you can hang out back there. If you want to go into the chat, then you want to eventually come back, you can do that as well. But I'm gonna bring Terradome up right now.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. So coming up now, I have my guy Terradome. Terradome, good morning. Good morning. How you doing?
What's up, my people? What's up, Croc? How you doing? Shout out to all of Nano Nation and all of the faithful and all of the Lakers in the house. I'm sorry about Draymond Green getting that 1-game suspension, but he was looking like one of Drew Hill's background dancers when they were singing, "Tell me what you want."
I saw that video. Now, do you think that it's warranted that Draymond got suspended? Because I don't think so. Now, again, I don't know. I think here's the thing with Draymond.
Go ahead.
Draymond Green toes the line, and a lot of time he kind of goes over it. But I think because he goes over it so much, you give him a little bit more leeway with when he does kind of toe that line, if that makes sense. So I think he does a lot of the antics that he does. If it were other people, I think you'd be like, wow, right? Now, Sabonis is not innocent in this, and he's trying to act like he's innocent. He did wrap his arm around his leg. So for me, okay, you kick Draymond Green out. I think from that point, it should just be, all right, like that was his punishment. He got kicked out for the rest of that game, ejected, and boom, he comes back for game 3. I don't think that you should punish him, especially after watching it. And it's very clear. Guy wrapped his arm around his legs, right? And he did not have to do the whole stomp thing. Like he didn't, but that's Draymond. He's going to do that. But I don't think it should be warranted to like kick him out. So that was kind of it was wild to see. And I fell asleep at halftime of the game. But I woke up and I saw all that on social media. I think it's wild to stomp a guy like that, like what he did. And it's like, of course, Draymond did that, right? But Sabonis isn't innocent in that whole thing either.
Not at all. And and I think they addressed it as well. Draymond is the victim of a little bit of his antics in the past. I remember him kicking which come in the ding ding, and it's been a reoccurring theme. He got put out with a LeBron giving them the de facto championship that time with the suspension before. So this is the culmination of a couple of things, and plus his antics or his action against Poole this offseason. It's
I don't know if that has he just Draymond. He goes too far, like he does.
He does.
The thing is, and I talk about it with guys like
Charlie Murphy would say, he's a habitual line stepper. He goes
100%
a little bit.
But it reminds me of, and I talked about Talanoa Hufanga. I've talked about a prospect I was watching, Mekhi Blackman out of USC, right? Like these guys that play with this certain level of aggressiveness, there's a give and take with it, right? And Hufanga, extremely aggressive. And it's like, I love it. And I don't want to take that away from you. The tough thing is,
I'm looking at you, bro. It takes that to win championships.
Yeah.
Everybody has that guy, whether it's Dennis Rodman, whether it's back when San Antonio had Bowers. It takes that guy. You need that guy. You want that guy, as Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men. I need that guy with the intensity, who's willing to match intensity, who's willing to take it a little too far. I need that guy. If you really want to get there, we can't be all choir boys and singing kumbaya. We got to have somebody who's willing to get there and do a couple of things. We need some J.R. Ewing out here. I've been watching Dallas a lot. You need that if you're going to be championship ball.
But yeah, so you need it, but Draymond does. Like, I watch the games and I'm like, he takes it a little too far, and I see how it's easy to. I'm surprised he just doesn't get more text. But the just kick, like, oh, you're gonna be suspended for game 3. I think that was a little excessive. We did not come on here to talk about the Warriors and them being down 0-2 to the Sacramento Kings. Sacramento Kings lighting the beam on their ass. We did not come here to talk about that. Go Lakers.
I didn't go there, Croc Nation.
Oh, real quick. Okay, so I do have to touch on that real quick too.
Yeah.
There are people that are getting things confused here. All right. I love the troll Warrior fans. I do not cheer for the Sacramento Kings. I saw somebody that was like, you can't, nobody that cheers for the Lakers, but they're from Stockton, cheer for the Kings. You can't take him serious or whatever. I'm not cheering for the Kings in no way, shape, or form. I just laugh when the Warriors lose. Like, when they lose, I laugh. Like, I'm not cheering for the Kings. I'm not saying go Kings. Oh, go Kings. You go beat those Warriors. Heck yeah, let's go Kings. Beat the Warriors. Like, no, I don't care. But when you lose, I'm going to talk trash because y'all lost. And y'all had your noses held high like this couldn't happen. So that's the thing that I like, that part. But as far as cheering for the Kings, hell no. Hell no, I'm not cheering for the Kings.
We
don't care about the Kings.
Too long. We done beat Vlade Divac and Chris Webber and all of them. If y'all remember back in the day, he's got that Magic Johnson back there with the small shorts way back in the day. We go back. The Lakers go back like suede Pumas and recliner seats and old Lincolns and deuce and a quarters. This is something so old y'all can't even fathom. This is championship ball. We go back. This Lakers stuff here. And
all right, so shout out to the Lakers. Shout out to my guy, Terradome. I'm going to phrase a question for you right now. And I'm going to play the other side because, too much I kind of play the middle of everything. All right. So now I'm going to be like, like, let's say there's 2 versions of Eric Crocker. There's evil Eric Crocker and there's the whatever I always am, right?
The angel on the shoulder.
Angel on the shoulder. All right. So I'm Angel Crocky. Everybody likes him. And then now here goes evil Crocky. All right. I know that you are a big fan of Brock Purdy. Evil Crocky says Brock Purdy, throughout how people are viewing him right now, is very overrated.
Gotcha.
And I don't even think I can't speak for Angel Crocky. All right. Brock Purdy is overrated. He went to the best team for him in the NFL. He was asked to make 5-yard throws, and guys turned it into 70-yard touchdowns. He has a weak arm, struggled to throw outside the numbers unless guys were wide open. He underthrew Brandon Ayuk on who was wide open for a touchdown, made him have to stop and damn near pass broken up. But Ayuk made a great catch and it was a touchdown. He rolls out to the left too much. He tries to do wild stuff, throw the ball across his body, resulting in either near interceptions or interceptions that could potentially hurt the team. When people watch more of him, they will start to see all these deficiencies in his game, and it would handicap the 49ers offense similarly to how Jimmy Garoppolo handicapped his offense. What do you think about that? Chunky Boy, I see you in the background. Shake your head. I'm going to get you up here too. But Evil Crocky says Brock Purdy is overrated.
Okay. Here go my 30 seconds. In the time that Brock Purdy,
real quick, my bad.
Brock Richard,
I'm asking you because I know you love Brock Purdy.
I know,
so that's why,
because
I'm
coming with it. You know I'm coming with it. All right. In the time, I'm going to reset the clock. I got 30 seconds on the clock. In the time that Brock Purdy came into the Miami game, when we were pretty much evenly matched, and a lot of you content creators and a lot of you fans were picking Miami to beat us. Brock Purdy came in there and went 67%. He went 8 of 12 versus the blitz, staring things down. Here's a stat that everybody needs to hear. We increased our output in offensive points by 22 points a game with the same personnel to 33 points a game. I think it was 33.4. You can check my math as I get off. Now I'm going to throw some else at you. In play action passer ratings, when we did play action, Brock Purdy had a 130 passer rating. That was first in the NFL. That was above Mahomes. That was above Allen. That was above Hurts. That was above everybody that you know. He was number one. In pre-snap motion, Brock Purdy was 118.3. That was first in the NFL. That was above Mahomes. That was above Herbert. That was above Hurts. In outside the numbers, Brock Purdy was 112.9 for a passer rating. That was first in the NFL. That was above Mahomes. All that you call him Dak Prescott, all that you call franchise players, all that you call the great quarterbacks and the great hopes and Deshaun Watsons and everybody else. And when they did not blitz, Brock Purdy was 112.6, which was first again in the NFL in the games in which he played. Brock Purdy won 2 playoff games, which is twice as many as a lot of the quarterbacks that y'all deem as the sanctified anointed ones who have blonde hair and blue eyes and are 6'4" and all of this stuff. Brock Purdy has 2 more playoff wins than Lamar Jackson, who was a former MVP. Brock Purdy brought a stabilization to our franchise. He came in prepared. He came in poised. He came in ready. He came in to do things. He came in and conquered. He knocked down every variable that we put before him, to include going against the great Tom Brady, who I deem as the greatest that ever did it. 7 championships, 10 Super Bowl appearances, 84,214 yards, 649 touchdowns. Those are the numbers before you. If you want to debate them, you can, and I would agree with you, but we'd both be wrong.
All right, so we have some questions here for you, and I'm also going to bring in, matter of fact, I'm going to bring in Gammon from backstage and Shunderboy from backstage as well to join in on this topic right here. Again, Evil Crocky, all right, or which I don't remember which shoulder was Evil Crocky, but there's Angel Crocky and Evil Crocky on one of the shoulders, all right? Evil Crocky says, Brock Purdy, overrated, run after catch monsters, helped them, saved them. Christian McCaffrey coming in, saved them, which I think I just saw my guy Blake Brown in here says 70% of the 49ers offense went through CMC. Brock is good, but I still would like to see more to be great. All right.
That's fair.
But had the number one defense. They constantly gave him the ball back, stopped other teams from scoring most of the times. All right. So Brock Purdy's overrated, says Evil Crocky. Shunderboy, Gammon. We'll start with Shunderboy. Thoughts on that?
So, I mean, how do you follow Terradome after that? You can't. I'm going to add one thing that's kind of more of a nuance as opposed to a statistical thing, because I agree with absolutely everything that he just said. There's no question that in situational football, Brock Purdy down the stretch of the back half of the game, he was the best situational quarterback in football. Every single statistic validates that. So that's kind of what the big separator is. The other thing that I would add is awareness, right? So not just field awareness about where he's at on the field, in the pocket, which hash he's on, so that he knows where he can layer a ball here because he has more space to that side of the field, things like that. But there are plays that Jimmy Garoppolo and that Trey Lance and guys like Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard before him would miss because, like Kyle Shanahan says, it's not always correct. So there's a guy running open and they would miss it because, it's read here, read here. He has the field awareness to know, okay, I'm going to skip read number 2 and go to 3 because if this guy's over here, that guy's open. And he did that probably at least once, sometimes 2 or 3 times a game, where there's a play there that it's not really what he's supposed to make. He threw a touchdown pass to George Kittle when George Kittle wasn't even in the progression. right? He's not even George Kittle's just going out and finding the spot because there's nothing there and it broke down. Jimmy Garoppolo's not doing that. None of the other quarterbacks were. So to me, the biggest thing that separated what got those points is continuing to move the ball in a situation when the play wasn't there, checking the ball down to CMC. How many times did Jimmy Garoppolo check the ball down? It's not like our running backs before can't catch. I mean,
do you think that Jimmy? Hold on, because I did see an uptick in throwing to running backs, even with Jimmy Garoppolo as quarterback, and we did start to see an increase, really, in all the 49ers offensive numbers once Christian McCaffrey became the starting running back. So, Evil Crocky says this offensive production started to take off once Christian McCaffrey became the full-time starter, not when Brock Purdy started. It really started prior to that when Jimmy Garoppolo was at quarterback. Your thoughts on that?
Evil Crocky has a very good point. If you'll remember, I came on this show 30 seconds after they made that trade, and we had a conversation about it. And one of the things that I said at the time was what Christian McCaffrey does is he forces the linebackers out of the middle, because when he's out on the edge, you have to respect it. And that extra step the linebacker has to take opens up everything over the middle, which is what the 49ers were able to take advantage of down the stretch in that season. So you're right that CMC opens up the game in a way that the other running backs didn't, but that's more about the respect that other players have for him, right? The other running backs, they're not checking the ball down to those guys. I'm not sure why Jimmy Garoppolo, because you're right, Jimmy Garoppolo was also doing it more too. Go ahead, Gammon.
Real quick, some of this where it's coming from, I was on Twitter today because I see somebody say, "Oh, come on, Croc. Brock was getting touchdowns and Jimmy only gets field goals." All right, listen, I don't know. I know
that's situational.
You can say that, right? Let's say again, I keep going back to the Commanders game. Talked about a little bit last night, knocked on 49ers, but there was a game watching against the Commanders, and 49ers defense forced 3 turnovers and set the offense up in scoring position, and each time the 49ers only got a field goal out of it.
Yes, he did. And our best defensive game, I'm sorry, Gammon, real quick. Our best defensive game was against the New Orleans Saints. We blanked them. There was a 0, there was a goose egg, there was a donut. Jimmy Garoppolo could only manage 13 points, and that was with Christian McCaffrey. He had Christian McCaffrey when we were against the Kansas City Chiefs. Mind you, when Christian McCaffrey hit the plane on the tarmac at San Francisco International Airport, it was the great Brock Purdy who helped him get tutored up and ready to go in that game. Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. Jimmy Garoppolo could only manage 22 or 23 points, and did we not lose by about 12 or 13 points? Let me add on to this. He had a wonderful game against a couple of teams that we always beat. Chris Mullins beat the Los Angeles Rams.
Nick Mullins.
We always beat the Arizona Cardinals. That's always good. But Brock Purdy went up to Seattle. We battle in Seattle. We have traditionally had problems in Seattle. And Brock Purdy gave an homage to Russell Wilson from Richmond, Virginia, Collegiate High, and stuck that ball out and converted the third down. And we could have won by more points, but it was with the class and tenacity of the great Jordan Mason that he didn't put it over into the end zone. We could have put even more points on him. And then we did in the playoffs when we saw him for the third time. We ran it up 41 points. And in that game, he had over 300 yards. Mind you, he was 76% against the GOAT and 33 points. I'll give you the floor.
All right, here we go. And the floor goes to Gammon. Gammon's been waiting patiently to touch on this. So, again, I saw a tweet out today, and the guy said, are the 49ers really going to start Brock Purdy for the future? Like, they're putting the future of their team in his hands. Your thoughts on that, Gammon?
Yeah, I want to go back to, Brock Purdy, the Brock Purdy overrated statement. Here's my thing. What quarterback on this team wouldn't be considered overrated? Jimmy Garoppolo would be considered overrated.
Correct.
Trey Lance starts playing, he'll be considered overrated.
Correct.
Sam Darnold starts, he'll be considered. So fine, everybody is going to be considered overrated. CMC, he getting the ball 70% of the time, and so he was the one carrying it. But the ball had to 100% go through Brock Purdy's hands. The other thing too is, and you know, a lot of people know me. I love Lance. I don't simp for Sam. I'm not going to twerk for Kirk, but I do have a lot of love for Brock Purdy. I think that the Miami Dolphins have a lot of great offensive weapons. You know, what was interesting was in the first round of the playoffs, the 49ers and the Dolphins were one of like two NFL teams that had to rely on their third backup quarterback that were also two drafted in the 7th round. Now,
I think maybe even back-to-back picks, I think.
Right. And their 7th rounder was picked higher than the 49ers. I'm sure that if we had Tyreek Hill, that would be the big excuse for any quarter. That's not just because we have talent. It's not that shouldn't be a detriment, but it's how you utilize that talent. And I would say that Brock Purdy got much more sufficient use out of this talent than his peer who was drafted in the 7th round on a good, really good offensive, high-powered team, right, that runs a similar system with McDaniels and Shanahan. So I think there's that proof there. The other thing,
so the quarterback you're talking about, then we just brought him up on a recent episode, but I want to say maybe the Kansas State quarterback, maybe that right? That's what you're talking about, right? That went to the Dolphins and then he had
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah. I don't know his name, but
Skylar Thompson.
Skylar Thompson. Yeah.
And you know, he played in that playoff game. Did he play anything prior to the playoff game?
Yes, because he had to come in a game or two, and that's when things kind of looked shaky. So it wasn't just, you know, that first round kind of first game jitters. And the other thing too is Brock Purdy, I believe, someone can double check my stats or my math on this, but in 5 games, 5 regular season games, he led rookie quarterbacks that year for touchdown passes. Easy. And my big takeaway was when he threw that touchdown pass to George Kittle, I was blown away. Yes, people lament and say, oh, he should have thrown it to his first read. I was going like, George Kittle was his 5th read. Are you kidding me? Like, and don't get me wrong, I dance for Lance. I definitely do. But I've got love like for Brock. I have no quality. It looked damn good when Brock Purdy was out there, and I have no problems with him it being handed over to him, because again, I think that quarterback wins actually do matter. And people are going to say, oh, but Brock Purdy got injured twice in the 8 games that he played. Honestly, and here we go again. You can't give anybody credit for they're going to be overachieving in this offense because everybody else is doing their work for them instead of them actually quarterbacking, getting to his 5th read, i.e. And then here's the thing. It's not just Brock Purdy that can't stay upright and healthy. The only man who could play game after game after game was C.J. Beathard. But that man, when he retires from the NFL, is going to go work for Buick as a crash test dummy. That dude took more punishment than I've ever seen in my life. So I think that has
what it is, Gammon. They always do that. They always say that, you know, that's the Jordan, LeBron, Magic Johnson comparison. They always say, well, look who he had. Look who he had. Look who he had. Hey, yeah, look who he had. Look who he made better. Look who's a Hall of Famer now. Look who's better now. It is what it is, man. You make your players better. And real quick, if you allow me 15 seconds, let me throw it a little something at everybody. Croc mentioned that he was a Division II player. I was as well at Virginia Union University. But let me throw down some FCS, what we used to call Division I AA folks that have contributed to the 108-year history of the NFL. Ken Anderson went to Augustana. The great Steve McNair went to Alcorn State. Tony Romo, Eastern Illinois. Rich Gannon, Delaware. Joe Flacco, Delaware. Ron Jaworski, Youngstown State. Shannon Sharp, Savannah State. Who we got? Ben Coates at Livingston. John Randall, Texas A&M. I'm quite sure that the great Michael Strahan went to Texas A&M or Texas State, one of the two. Hey, the great Rakim said back in 1986, it ain't where you're from, it's where you're at. You have to prove, not to mention the greatest that ever did it. If you see his jersey behind me, 1,549 receptions, 22,895 yards, 208 touchdowns, born October 13th, 1962. Jerry Rice from Crawford, Mississippi, went to Mississippi Valley State. So don't think it's all about Division I. That's just your entrance in the door. If you want to win a dance contest, it don't matter what door I get in. But when I get in and hit this electric slide, when I get in and hit this door, when I get in and show and prove who I am, you will know my name after I finish. So don't talk to me about the Power 5. Only talk to me about who produced it.
We need, I feel like we need some of those like church organs or whatever.
Oh, for sure.
I was like, oh,
absolutely.
I need like a fan. When he starts,
I'll get some. What I need is I gotta find the audio on that. We'll get that going for Terror Dome. Fellas, we're gonna get out of here soon. I definitely appreciate everybody coming in. I don't know if we solidified the conversation, but again, I saw some things on Twitter. I know I see some things. I'm like, man, I think he's very talented. I wonder sometimes if people the way they talk about it as it pertains to him right now. And I say right now because rookies, you typically think they'll get better. And then Brock Purdy gets better. Man, what does that look like? All right, that should be really exciting.
Go ahead. Real quick on the whole rookie thing. He is the best rookie quarterback that we've seen in 20 years. The only person that's better is Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert came out and lit it up. Nobody saw that coming. Other than that, what quarterback as a rookie has come out and played better? And then if you, on top of that, put the fact that he got no reps with the first team, he got absolutely no time with any of the regular offense. He came in with no preparation, no nothing, and was the best rookie quarterback that we've seen in a long time. And people don't think, they think that because he's injured this offseason, he can't have a good season? Based on what?
That's it. That's it. And listen to the players. Listen to the coaches. They're going to tell you everything you need to know, folks. Don't listen to these media types who get paid to push stuff and have an agenda. I listen to the interviews, man. I look at shows like Crocky. I look at shows like Larry Krueger. I look at the interviews of these guys, and they will tell you who's got it. They can look at a guy and Croc, you've been at practice, man. You've been at practice. We know, man. We know. Even though we defensive dudes, we look over across there, we were like, oh, dude can't play, man. Dude can't play. But when dude got it, you like, oh, hold on. Oh, he got a little something in the tank. Listen to Fred Warner.
The interesting thing though, and this is just for me being at training camp, and I wasn't there as much as some other people, but it's funny, like when I remember watching Brock Purdy and I ain't think nothing of him. Like I ain't think, oh man, that's Brock Purdy. I actually thought, who was throwing the ball very well?
Nate Sudfeld.
No, big dude. Nate Sudfeld. Yeah, like
Nate Sudfeld with his guaranteed money right on way from there, didn't it?
Yeah, so there's more to it than what I just saw. Because I know when I was watching, I was like, man, Sudfeld slinging it, man.
Crockett, I could tell. When I knew Talanoa Hufanga was gonna have a good year in I think it was like week 1 or 2. If you go back in the film, D'Amico Ryans is at the press conference saying, man, Huff doing some things out there. Huff doing some things, man. You can tell in a coach's voice, you can see in his eyes, the confidence he got in him. I said right then and there, Talanoa Hufanga get ready to make this step, and it's gonna be a big one.
Let me
tell when these coaches like you, and when they feel like you got it, they will tell it to you. Listen to the players. Look at who they vote as their captains. Look at who they vote as their dude. Look at who they got as who they put their confidence in.
I will say this though, Terry Dome.
You can tell as well.
My only pushback on that would be how glowingly they spoke about Jimmy Garoppolo when everybody was like, we are watching the games. And it ain't him. like that was like what were the talks about Jimmy G from the players, from the coaches?
That was all that they know. That was he done been with them to a Super Bowl. It was out of blind allegiance. And we can have this on the after dark thing. You know, it's certain guys you hang around that if things don't happen for you, if they don't want certain things, they'll leave them to you. I'll just leave it at that. Jimmy G got a few guys paid on some outside ancillary things.
I got a quick
and
question.
He's in the right city now. I'll say that.
Sorry, Terry Jones. I got a quick question for Chunder Boy, and it's I think this is the first time you and I have been rocking a mic.
It is.
It's awesome having four of us up here. Feels like kind of like the four horsemen, but in a good way. Yeah. But I'm looking at the chat, and I kind of want to get your opinion on this because you have a pretty good, fair take about things from what I've seen. Chat is saying Huff peaked around weeks 6 and 8, but then he tailed off, or his play, I don't want to say fell off, but it tapered off and it kind of, I guess, regressed maybe. What is your take on that?
So I think that happened in some ways it did, in some ways it didn't. I think what happened, and again, I said this on this show last year, I think after the 49ers went backwards a little bit, they're 3-4. I think Kyle Shanahan, people forget his whole staff. There's a whole new turnover on staff, on offense and stuff. It took a while for them to get going. I think Kyle Shanahan kind of took control a little bit midseason and was like, and kind of had to get the ship right. And I think part of that was Huff was making a ton of plays, but there's a couple of games in the middle there where we lost because big plays were made on his side of the field because he was wrong. And if you're wrong and you play that way, it goes very badly. So I think he just started to play a little bit more conservatively and pick his shots better. And so that leads to better, more consistent play, but not as many splash plays. I think, and then also some missed tackles. He's got to stop missing tackles.
So, Mr. Crocker, what kind of version of Huff do you think we can expect for this upcoming season? Are we going to see the risk-taking playmaker? Will Wilkes give that Pro Bowler that kind of a nod, or do you think, much to Chunder Boy's point, he's going to be playing, I don't want to say more reserved, but more discipline per se?
I say keep being aggressive. And I think that's what makes him good. I think that what makes him different. I think that's what made him first team All-Pro or second team All-Pro, whatever he was. His ability to kind of fly around, make plays, force fumbles, pick off passes, have the ball go through his hands and into his teammate's hand. With that, you might give up a touchdown or so, every few games. There might be a misstep and he gets beat or something like that. I don't think he's the most amazing guy in coverage, but I think he brings a certain value to the defense that, hey man, there's going to be a play here and there that you're not going to like and you blame him and whatever. But I think more times than not, he's on his stuff and he's very physically imposing and making plays out there. So I'm not one to harp too much on it. Now, if you can find a guy that can be safe but also make a bunch of plays, then great. But I think it's extremely difficult to do that. So I don't mind the kind of being aggressive. I actually encourage it. So those are my thoughts on that.
He's a playmaker. It got a little bit exposed and they were taking advantage of his eyes. He had dirty eyes a little bit and they took advantage of eyes. They ran with what's called the Mills concept. And it's human nature when you see something in front of you to kind of take the cheese. And he went on Richard Sherman's podcast and said, sometimes I take the cheese, man. I take the cheese because I'm just trying to make that play. He's going to grow. He's going to become more disciplined.
There was also something too.
He got a defensive coordinator coming. Trust me, guys.
Listen.
This guy, Steve Wilkes, he's been down here in Carolina. This guy is going to increase our knowledge and the football IQ of our secondary. It's about to go up. Trust me.
He's gonna unlock Huff.
Knows secondary. This guy knows cornerback. He knows leverage. He knows the communication process and how to simplify it and get it so you don't blow coverages sometimes. And one or two blown coverages a game, a season is all the difference in the world. He's going to back in this daggone thing. And I'd be remiss. Let me shout this out real quick, Croc. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I know all the heat that Kyle Shanahan takes, but bringing in Kubiak and Greasy versus Stankarello was immeasurable this year. I didn't stutter. I hope you hear me, Stankarello. Kubiak and Greasy. That's who Brock Purdy said. He said, I talked the whole time in the process, I talked to Kubiak and Greasy. It was Kubiak and Greasy I was talking to. And you could see the implement and the increase on our quarterback room. Even Jimmy G, you could see it in our quarterback room all year long versus Skankarello, because really the only one that really got hurt in all of this, the only one that really got the deficiency in all this was Trey Lance. Trey Lance had to go outside, go to somebody who beat us in the Super Bowl to get his throwing motion a little bit better and get his process a little bit better with the great, his name is Jeff Christensen. That should have been done with Jimmy G. That's why Jimmy G was here. And you wasted 2 years. Thank you.
All right. I think it's time to kind of step away on that point. Shout out to my guy, Terror Dome. Shout out to Chunder Boy. Shout out to Gammon. Appreciate all y'all coming on today. Thanks, guys.
Take it easy. Yep.
Yeah.
My bad, Gammon. Go ahead.
I would love for you on another episode or maybe on Locked on 49ers, maybe discuss. We always bring up the possible loss of arm strength for Purdy due to surgery, but no one really talks about the possible loss of mobility for Trey Lance. Thank you for your time.
Oh, yeah. We'll definitely talk about that. And there's some comparisons, slightly different injuries, but I'll bring Coach Desi on. I just shot her a text yesterday, so next week we'll bring Coach Desi on to talk about.
Got to.
My girl alone. Bring my girl on.
To talk about that.
I'll be in the back room.
All right, Gammon. Appreciate you. Terror Dome. Appreciate you. Chunder Boy. Appreciate you as well. Shout out to everybody that made this a very enjoyable show for me. Being able to, just kind of listen to different takes and what kind of the way guys process stuff. It was fun kind of being Evil Crocky and Angel Crocky. Really, more times than not, I am that, but I think it's hard. The hard part with, I don't want to say playing the fans, but like bringing a different perspective is fans are very emotional. Fans are very emotional. So a lot of times if I bring a different perspective to even the episode of Locked on 49ers, it's like, oh, good Croc, how could you say this? Like, dude, like, let's just look at a different perspective. Unless we just all want everybody to think alike, everybody to have the same thought process throughout all this. And I mean, is that what we really want to listen to? All right, I don't think so. So real quick, I did have a super chat here that I meant to get to. Shout out to Tia Ingram. Thank you for being very patient. But are we serious right now? We are putting too much pressure on Purdy. If he plays bad, then everybody would turn on him like they did Jimmy and say, get rid of him. Everybody needs to calm down. I would say this. The pressure, Tia, will be on him regardless, because not that Trey showed a ton of promise in 4 games, but you are, what's the word? Because I don't want to use the word giving up, but you are saying we don't care about what Trey Lance can potentially be if he develops. We're going to pass on that for what we've already seen from Brock Purdy. And he played well in these games. We're good with that. Trey Lance might be great, but it might be somewhere else, right? And we'll see if he gets traded or whatever. But I think that alone would be a lot of pressure, because if Trey does go somewhere else and they just like, hey, we're going to let Trey rock out and do his thing, and he is able to string together more than 2 starts in the season, it can get a little weird. And if he balls out, people are going to look right at Kyle Shanahan and be like, what the hell were you doing? All right. So I think because of that, there's always going to be kind of probably if Trey goes somewhere else, that comparison. And I would assume, and maybe y'all as well, I would assume that if Lance goes somewhere else and they move, or that's not where I was going with this. I was going with it. I would assume that you would move on from him. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I would move on from him for him. All right. Hey, man, we can get something back. Yeah, we gave up a lot to get you, but in the process, we found this other quarterback. He's doing awesome. He's doing great. Everybody's behind him. Everybody loves him. Great. Trey Lance, here, we'll ship you off to Tennessee or Houston or wherever. Go ball out there. So I feel like that's something that could really happen. I think the elbow injury with Brock Purdy definitely kind of throws a wrench in some of that. It makes it to where you have to think a little bit twice about it, because it's like, well, what if he doesn't, fully recover the way we think? We think he will, but what if he doesn't? So I think there's always going to be that as well. But it's going to be fun to kind of continue to talk about it, man. I was coming on here today thinking about it, man, what am I going to talk about? And then the 49ers, they just end up being the gift that keeps on giving. I definitely want to thank everybody that tuned in for the show today. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Locked on 49ers, make sure you tune into that. Underdog Fantasy, promo code Crocky. Got a Laker game tonight. Go Lakers, Lake Show. I'll be tuning in. Pretty sure a lot of y'all tuning in too, just to kind of tweet me and poke fun if the Lakers lose. But I really want to say thank you guys. Thank you. Thank you for another great show. And I'll get this uploaded. I didn't get the last episode uploaded yet on the audio, but I'll get that one, then maybe this one tomorrow. But yeah, man, appreciate all y'all, and I'll be back next week coming at you live. Peace.